Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. Today in War Thunder it's time to have a look at a new chapter in the history of this game. A World War mode, or World War, is coming to open beta test in just a few days. We even have a wonderful timer at the top, 2 days, 20 hours, 45 minutes from this time that this video was recorded. And what we're going to do in this one is have a look at the video. We're also going to have a look at a little Q&A that the main dev, Dmitry Gordeev, or the game designer I should say, has done, and talking about World War mode. Now, Dmitry is the main guy behind the creation of World War, so therefore it will be nice seeing his insights and also get some ideas of where to find more information to get yourself ready for World War when it comes out. And there is a lot of videos, there is a lot of wiki pages, there's a ton of information around this showing that there is a lot of effort that's gone into this, and I think it should be all read, it should be all looked at if you are interested in this game mode. So we're going to full screen this, we're going to watch this together, and I will just let you know, in certain parts it is a little bit loud, so I might turn it down in the video, and if you want to see it yourself, it is on the main War Thunder page on YouTube. So there you go, there's the whole trailer for World War mode, and there's a few things to point out in this trailer. So obviously the main focus is air and ground, no look of naval, but what is interesting is if you have a look at the artwork for World War, at least a third of it is of course naval. Now a lot of people have pointed to this big ship over here, wondering what it is, and a lot of people have talked about the Bismarck and all of those wonderful things. I mean, it might be, we do technically have a model of the Bismarck in the game. I'm sure there could easily be missions based around AI battleships, and understand we are also getting heavy cruisers, so maybe we are going to get some of the big lads over here into the game as playable machines. But yeah, in this picture here, you know, you've got three people, you've got naval, air, and ground, but there's no mention of naval in here, which is a little bit sad, but it shows, at least in the teaser, that's what they're focusing on. A massive nod to World War II as well. There is nothing here that is post-World War II, and also two things that they also show the map a little bit, and we'll get into that. But this is probably one of the core things that people are going to be interested in. The first thing for me is the B-17G. So what I want you to do is, if you're able to, go onto Max or movie settings in War Thunder and go and have a look at the B-17s. The B-17s have some of the most low-def models in the game, and I feel kind of bad for them, because obviously they are iconic machines, and in War Thunder, they just do not look very good. They look their age, let's say. I don't think there's been an update to the B-17 since they were released, and I'm pretty sure they were released incredibly early on in the game, or the game's history. So yeah, it would be nice to see those get a HD update. And on top of this as well, one of the other things that I noticed, which is a problem I've personally been seeing in War Thunder, is moments like this. Like, you know, when I do the intros, when we have, many people line up and shoot, what you'll notice is the sounds from the guns don't overlap. And it's even in this trailer as well. If you listen to it, really closely, you can hear once one shot is fired and then the next one is, it silences that first shot and exemplifies the next one. So instead of having an overarching sound, instead it goes bang, bang, like that. And it doesn't sound good to the ears. And it's an issue I've had with the sound in War Thunder for quite a while. But it's just, it's kind of interesting to see it exemplified in a different medium apart from, in the game. But yeah, this is just a teaser trailer looking into World War mode. It gives you a basic idea of what's going on. The fact that it's World War II, the fact that it's mainly air and ground, the fact that you have some kind of commander role that you see here. But what is the most important thing is the development interview, which gives you much more insights into the actual mode itself. So let's see what Dmitry Gordeev says through this interview. And of course, understand that obviously these questions will be pre-planned, they'll be PR'd, all of this stuff. So there might be a little bit of reading between the lines, but I think it's more about getting the message out there. What is World War mode? Now, there is a lot of squadrons who have taken part in this. Understand that a lot of people have a lot of negative connotations around World War mode, and it might be worth asking them when they actually played World War mode. A lot of people who have been incredibly negative on it were part of the initial beta tests about a year, maybe a year and a half ago. I will definitely say that World War mode has come on in leaps and bounds in the last year when it comes to mechanics, when it comes to how it works. So therefore, if somebody says to you, I played it a year ago, it wasn't very good, just take it with a pinch of salt. And make sure to watch these two videos, the War Thunder Wiki World War Fighters and the War Thunder Wiki World War Commanders, so you can get an idea of how everything works. They're not long videos. This one goes through the general way that the map works and how you're supposed to command everything. And then the Fighters, of course, talks about, how you are coming to battle and how everything works. And also, if you haven't already, there is a War Thunder Wiki YouTube channel. And every video that's made for the War Thunder Wiki gets posted here. It is actually a really fun thing, a really good source of information for the game itself. They even talk about, specific vehicles as well. And it doesn't, get uploaded too much, but any video that goes on the wiki also goes on here. And I would very much recommend just going through it, because it means that you can learn a lot of information that you might not have known about, especially about stuff like range finding, or stuff such as rockets, or answers from the developers. It's good. It's a good way of keeping on top of information in War Thunder. So let's go through it. The first one, and we'll read it verbatim and then give some thoughts. So the first question is, greetings, Dmitry. Tell us how the idea of creating a World War mode come about. Hi there. Even when War Thunder first began, it was obvious to us that a game such as ours would require a historical game mode, allowing players to feel like a hero of real military historical events without any restrictions inherent in wall-to-wall battles, as is common in other similar games. In contrast, historical battles are battles that are strict on the participants, in which the two sides can fight in dramatically different conditions with different combat tasks and available vehicles. Such mechanics are not suitable for classical random sessions because the way in which the teams must play in order to win in such battles is different. At the same time, the battles of World War are linked by a major goal: total operational victory. The unpredictability, complexity, and uniqueness of this mode are the major features which will help define what you might come to expect in World War. Now, what he says here is completely correct. You cannot expect a historical game mode in a random battle. The reason for this is because it is impossible to track what everybody is bringing into said battle, and therefore you will always have imbalance. If you have a strict team of 16 versus 16, and there is no other factors in it, and you decide to put Panthers versus T-34 1941s, then of course the Panthers are going to take over. But if you make it so one side has 50 T-34 1941s and your side only has 5 Panthers, then we're talking interesting numbers here. So the idea of World War mode is not to just work from a premise of we need to just kill the enemy more than we kill more than, they kill us, or, we need to capture the objectives more than the enemy does. Instead, there can be other win factors, grinding out the enemy. When you look at maps like this, you can see that we have infantry around the place. You have aircraft coming in. You have artillery positions. It is all more about the grand battle instead of individual battles. Now understand, the majority of players are going to take part in those individual battles, and they'll definitely be able to sway those battles in favor of, your campaign. But as the verbiage goes, you can lose the battle, but win the war. And that's pretty much what World War is looking at, the idea of, well, you don't always have to have superiority in one battle to win the war overall. This happens in a lot of games which, have either fuel or some form of other resource, where if you hold on longer than you should have, then you drain the enemy of more of their munitions or more of their fuel, so therefore they can't push forward. And for me, that is a cool little idea, which I've seen in many games and love to see it replicated in War Thunder. We would like to know more about how the mode works. It's a big thing. It's a big thing. At first, we created our own engine for World War mode. Scenarios are available to all players. Wait a second. They created a whole new engine? Okay, that's kind of crazy. They've put a lot of time into this. So even on the War Thunder wiki, you can see the actual scenarios that we're getting. I'm sure they'll add much more to these as we go over time, which sounds absolutely wonderful. But anyway, scenarios are available to all players. These exhibit slices of the known stages of the historical battles of various theaters of war. Players manage armies on a real-world map, engage in separate battles, and influence the current state of affairs in operations, either following history or radically changing it. World War itself will be built from regular seasons, in which we will present new scenarios, different in years, theatre of operations, participating vehicles, and tasks. At the end of the season, the most effective squadron of players will receive valuable prizes, individual for each new season. Detailed elaboration of operations, which takes into account the historical balance of forces in the beginning, while allowing for an unpredictable outcome, will remain unchanged in the seasons. So they're actually going to reward squadrons with valuable prizes for doing well in these. This might mean that we may have to get the warrior squad and the elite squad banging the drums of war, moving in to take what is rightfully ours, which is of course the world. But anyway, the interesting thing is, one of the things I hear a lot from squadron battle guys is the prizes are not worth the amount of time that you put into them. What if World War Mode does have those valuable prizes, and it is worth you going in for them. Remember, it says individual for each new season, so every new season should have different prizes. Now, I'm personally hoping that isn't individual independent vehicles. Technically, we've had the Subland A and the AMX-50 1950 added to the files, plus the H-75. Right? These are vehicles that are not in any tech trees, they're not in any premiums, and we have no idea where they're going. But if they are the valuable prizes, I'm going to be annoyed. Because technically, this is gift vehicles which are exclusive to a specific game mode, and just like the HE-100, just like that Spitfire tournament, just like the HE-162, I'm not okay with it. I don't like these ideas. I think they should be available to everyone, no matter if you are in squadrons or not. Now, if they decide to do it though, that would definitely give a lot of squads an incentive to go and play World War Mode instead of squadron battles. Maybe we have a little bit of a mix-up at the top. Now, it also means that one of the things that we see from squadron battles is a lot of manipulation of the system, I think is probably the nicest way of putting it. Now, hopefully, World War Mode systems will not be as easy to manipulate, but of course there will be people who find those ways of manipulation. So we're going to have to watch out for that stuff. Overall, that sounds really fun though. The only thing here which needs to be stamped out though is you've got to make sure that these starting scenarios are completely balanced or completely equal in the chances of each team winning. Otherwise, you are going to have such a horrible time because you'll just have people who spawn into scenarios and they already know they're going to lose because the win rate on it is 25% against the enemy, which is 75%. They're just going to leave the scenario and move on, and that's going to screw with all of the statistics. So that is something to watch out for. What goes on inside a scenario? As mentioned above, a scenario is a real battle held in the past during World War II. Each includes a global map of the real world where the armies are located. Armies are presented with vehicles which were, at this period of time, at the disposal of the commanders of the operation. Players are invited to play for one of the opposing sides, playing the real course of history or changing it. Perhaps correcting tactical mistakes documented by historians, squadron commanders begin on the map of the operation of battle. The mechanics will be similar to that of regular battles. In such battles, not only squadron members are involved, but all players when they choose their side of the conflict and the appropriate battle. The one problem with this that I'll point out, the majority of scenarios in the real world were not balanced. Kursk was not a balanced operation. The Battle of Berlin, the Battle of Stalingrad, the Battle of Britain, none of these were balanced scenarios. So I hope that they have taken into account those ideas. Otherwise, you have to make sure that, let's say in a scenario like the Battle of El Alamein, now is this the first Battle of El Alamein? 1942, okay. So in the sector of this, right, so it says here, an epic battle between armour of the British troops under the command of General Bernard Montgomery and the North African Italian-German group of Field Marshal Erwin Rommel that took place on October 23rd and November the 27th of 1942. Victory will be awarded to the teams that first fulfills at least one of the tasks in the scenario within the allotted time. Okay, so each side have different you have different tasks, okay, depending on okay, so this is how they're doing it, right? So the way that they're sorting it out is, if you have a look at the Battle of El Alamein, you'll see the victory descriptions, or the way that you win. So Great Britain has to capture at least 65% of the sectors within 2 hours. Germany has to hold at least 36%. So in this scenario, we know that the British are going to be on the offensive. Prevent an enemy superiority in number of vehicle 3 times. Gain a superiority in number of vehicle 3 times. So From these, what I'm looking at is, I mean, to me it looks like Great Britain is on the offensive in this scenario. I might be wrong, and yes, I do know about the First Battle of Belle Alamein. I'm just looking at it from a game point of view. So, with that said, it means that each commander has different victory tasks, and so they're working towards different goals, meaning that the maps will be balanced through these, and hopefully that's the case. So that's what I'm really hoping, but, as I said before, there's always going to be ways around it. Now what, I've already read that. Oh, also, the other thing, let's see. No, I talked about this. So there are 2 videos for you to watch. This one, which talks about how you enter World War mode, how it all works for the individual, and then you have the Commanders one as well, which talks about what you do in command. So if you want to learn about how all of this works, I would strongly recommend watching this video. It all happens in real time on this map. It looks absolutely stunning when it does. And when I said a few years ago what I would love to see is a mixture of something like an actual RTS, so Hearts of Iron and War Thunder, this is what we're getting in a much more simplified form, but it has a great view of expansion, at least for me. So another thing is, the Company of Heroes Ardennes Assault expansion. This reminds me so much of it, with the War Thunder mixed in, and that just makes me so happy. That's what I've been looking forward to for an incredibly long time. And what do these battles look like to their participants? Technically, these are familiar sessions, but what happens at the beginning of the battle will be determined by the type of armies, the vehicle and current status of the armies, their armaments, and even the sector in which the armies collide, all of which will affect the type of mission and its objectives. I wonder if we're going to get new maps thanks to this, and also they have some missions showing, what each of the things are going to have. But the main thing for me is if we are going to have a map like this, and obviously I believe this is the Battle of Vitebsk, so I believe that's in Russia, right? Or at least it's somewhere in Eastern Europe. Can you imagine if you just over and over and over again are on the same map, no matter where you fight on the front? I hope that's not the case. I hope it definitely has a different feel to it, depending on what map you're in. Otherwise, it would be kind of annoying. The next point, for example, let's say an aviation army is attacking a ground army. Their aim is to attack the vehicle column, and the defensive side controls the SPAAG while trying to repel the attack. At the same time, on the other side of the front, the tank army will attack the enemy's entrenched position. Obviously, this will make the task more difficult for the attackers, whose goal is to capture a well-fortified position. There will already be entrenched forces there, as you will see, and time will not be on the side of the attackers. To help one's fighters, the commander on the attacking side will send attackers' aircraft into this battle, which will be immediately available to the attacking players. There are many options. We have prepared a wiki article about missions, but in general, each battle is a small world war. So it's basically talking about how you can be winning a battle, and the commander's like, Chuck Tester, we're throwing in all we have at you, so have fun. I wonder how this is going to work from an AI point of view, and to be honest, I am very much interested in how all of this works. It sounds ambitious and interesting, but how will the mode be developed in the future? Obviously, we'll be adding new scenarios and awards, good stuff, implementing even more missions, and following your feedback and suggestions on your World War mode experience very closely. In the future, naval forces may also be involved in World War, and there may be post-war scenarios, and perhaps interesting ideas on alternative history if appropriate. Interesting. We're talking about post-war 1946, or we're talking about alternative history like Soviets versus British style. Anything, I suppose, is possible. What else are you going to tell us about World War? There is one important detail to tell you about, without which World War would, at best, have been delayed. Entire squadrons and single players helped us develop the mode by participating in lengthy testing and sharing their ideas, many of which we have implemented. And yes, I would like to thank everybody who took part in the World War Mode CBT. It is incredibly important to the development of War Thunder that people do test out mechanics and game modes in a CBT sense to make sure that it all works. Otherwise, the modes would never flourish. People would not find bugs. People would not be able to make sure that stuff works and what doesn't work. So thank you to everybody who did take part in the CBT. It means that today what we have is a mode which is a lot more fleshed out than what it could have been, a few years ago. So the two questions, of course, that are raised from this are what are these unique items, right? This has to be known. If we don't know these, we don't know what we're fighting for, and obviously we need to know what we're fighting for. It's as simple as that. On top of this, if you are interested in World War Mode and you are not part of a squadron, TechES is hiring. Now, all you have to do is go to the Discord and you will find TechES. We'll probably be running two fronts, the ES and the WS, and we'll make sure, and by the way, ES stands for Elite Squadron and WS stands for Warrior Squadron. Some people have said it's East and West. No, that's just a coincidence. But the main thing is I believe our commanders will do a wonderful job at getting us into victory in the World War Mode. And if you want to tag along and have some fun along the way, let's go. The other thing as well, which is not mentioned here at all, is do you get silver lions and research from participating in this game mode? Now, I'm pretty sure the answer will be yes, but it would have been nice to see that clarified, because obviously if people haven't been part of the CBT, you wouldn't know whether you're going to get them or not. Is it worth, an individual playing these who wants to still research their vehicles? Also, do squadron vehicles have anything to do with this? Do the machines that were just added to the files have anything to do with this? Is this a replacement for the World War II, the World War II Chronicles event that we have every year? There's a lot of questions that were not answered, mainly around, as I said, items and also the fact of RP and SL. Overall, though, I'm incredibly interested in this. I've been looking forward to this for years now when it comes to War Thunder. It is right up my alley, being an RTS player at heart, to see these two worlds collide, of the idea of RTS and the idea of War Thunder. I'm incredibly looking forward to this, and I hope all of you are too. So it's just 2 days and 20 hours. Let's get going. Let's have fun. Let's go in Shibugi. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. I'd like to thank B. Young, Blackie, Daniel Stanton, Martinez, Matati, Moxie, Nito, Nick Graham, Super Cacti, E-Love Goats, Juanfra Valero, and Seductive Trash Can for supporting the channel.